Well, for the doubles, I thought it was interesting. Morris and Holman hadn't played since 2018. Nothing like practice.
No, and you know what? They weren't very harmonious.
No.
No, that was their problem.
Carrie, you're muted.
We are on YouTube. I am going to admit 13 people. There are a couple people signing on that we do not have names for, that we are not going to know who they are for the record keeping. If anyone can see that their name, oh, okay. I just have a couple phone numbers. Chelsea, do you know who those are? Can you even see them? The person who owns 0846, if you could just provide us your name.
It's Maggie and Rodiness.
Thank you.
Don't go away. Tell me when we're ready.
I'm ready, Jim.
Okay, it's 5:04 p.m. So I'd like to open the Committee of Adjustment meeting for February 10, 2022. I'm the chair, Jim Cassan. The members are not on anybody's screen. Don Quinty. Present for some of you will be Sandy Stady, Susan McCrory, Peter Albers. From the municipality, we've got Kerry Reed, the manager of planning, and Chelsea Flegel, the planning assistant. We also have planning consultant, Jeff Port of JCP Planning and Development. Jeff is the planning consultant that Oliver Papunj has used in the past and is still using, and he's sitting in to provide additional information and expertise. So the first thing I'd like to do is open the meeting and ask that the agenda be approved.
I'll move.
Thank you. Did we have a seconder?
Sure, I'll second it. I was muted.
Okay, thank you, Susan.
Susan, yeah.
Yeah, those in favor?
Yep.
Thank you. We have accepted the agenda. Does anybody have a disclosure of interest that they'd like to bring forth?
Oh,
No,
Okay, and we have no deputations, Carrie?
That's correct.
Okay. Applications, we have 4, I believe, tonight. We have 1B0122 and 1B0222, both from Lawrence Gurnat with an agent, Olga Gurnat. Up to you, Carrie.
Thank you. So as you mentioned, 2 applications have been received from Olga Gurnett, acting as agent for Lawrence Gurnett for the property legally described as concession 6, part of the north half of lot 2, parcel 16570 in the municipality of Oliver Papoonge, known locally as being on Urick Drive. These applications are each for the creation of 1 new lot with 2.02 hectares in area, leaving a retained lot of 47.45 hectares. The subject property is designated as rural in the official plan and zoned rural residential in the zoning bylaw. The subject property is abutted by additional rural and rural residential lots in all directions, and the proposed new lots both meet area and frontage requirements of the zoning bylaw. This property has been severed multiple times, as you can tell if you look at the sketch. However, our official plan that was redone in 2018 did provide a new severance date of July 24th, 2017. So anyone who has not severed since that time has been permitted to sever 2 more times, leaving 1 retained parcel. In this case, that's what's happening here. This is their final 2 as they've run out of frontage after this one. We did not receive any interdepartmental comments. Agency comments we received from the Lakehead Region Conservation Authority stating that they have no objections. However, there are wetlands on the property, so they would require a permit from LRCA before they could do any building. We received comments from NDM stating that they have no concerns. And we received comments from Hydro stating that they have no comments or concerns. We did receive 2 letters of public opposition by email in the last few days. One from Don Staples and Candace Crockett, and the other from Graham Brecken. The letters in summary have concerns about the lot being severed too many times. There's concerns about noise and wear on the road. They have concerns about building too close to their property lines based on where the watershed is. And there was concern over strain on the water supply. However, based on the comments that we have received from agencies, that is not a concern. Additionally, anyone who chooses to build has to go through the building permit process, and there are zoning regulations to follow as far as setbacks. So building proximity to property lines would not be an issue. We also had council pass 2 separate resolutions at their meeting Tuesday, February 8th, both stating that they have no concerns with these applications. So it is my recommendation that both applications be approved for the creation of 1 new lot with our usual conditions.
Okay. Is there anyone that would like to speak against these applications? Because they're similar, we'll do them both at the same time. No one against? Is there anyone would like to speak for the applications? Any comments from the committee?
Well, as everything is in place, then I'm in favor of this application. The 1B 0122 and 1B 0222.
Okay, and is
just
that
have a question.
Sorry, hang on half a second here. Peter, are you making a motion?
Yes, I do. I'll
Okay,
move.
thank you. Susan, sorry to interrupt 3 times.
That's okay. So with the people that are opposing this, have you been in contact with them and told them that, you know, the rules changed after 2017 and the building permit and all that sort of stuff?
That information will be sent to them, yes.
Okay. I mean, there's not a lot of houses on Urick Drive, and all these lots have got for sale signs on them that look very, very old. So that's all. Thank you.
Do we have a seconder for Peter's motion?
Oh, I'll second it.
Thank you. And the wishes of the committee?
In favor.
I'm in favor.
They are passed. Carrie, do you want to read the conditions? I don't think anybody is on from,
I believe the applicant is on.
Yes, we are.
okay, by all means.
Okay, Olga, I'm just gonna read out the conditions for you and you'll get these in paper copy as well.
Thank you.
Yep, they're the same for each application. You're going to have to provide the original executed transfer deed of land form and one photocopy for our records, a schedule to the transfer deed of land form for which is set out the entire legal description of the parcels in question, one copy and one electronic copy of a reference plan of survey, a payment of $1,000 cash in lieu of parkland for each new lot, and a letter of approval from the Thunder Bay District Health Unit saying that the lands are appropriate for sanitary sewage disposal systems.
Okay.
Okay, then we have 1B0322, Lucy Kloosterhuis, lot addition.
Yes, thank you. So we have received an application from Lucy Kloosterhuis for the property described as Papoonj Concession A, Part Lot 26, Reference Plan 55R 13897, Part 5, locally known as being on River Road. The intent of the proposed lot addition is to add 0.359 hectares, or about 8 meters in width of land to the property to the west, also owned by Lucy Kloosterhuis. The lot addition will create a more appropriate space to build as the property receiving the lot addition is currently very rocky. The lot addition will leave the retained parcel at 5.292 hectares. The subject property is designated as natural resources in the official plan and zone rural in the zoning bylaw. It's abutted by additional rural lots in all directions. And the proposed lot addition doesn't affect area setback minimums negatively. And both the retained lot and property receiving the lot addition will remain legal in size. The lot addition simply serves to offer the receiving lot a buildable area as the land currently exists on a rocky cliff. All lands involved in this application are owned by the applicant. We did not receive any interdepartmental comments. We received agency comments from the Conservation Authority, again stating they have no objections, but would require building permits be done through them as there is water in the area. We received comments from NDM stating that they have no concerns. And we received comments from Enbridge that says they do have service lines in the area. And if those service lines are going to be affected by the severance, that we need to call them before any building or changes to the land occur. No public comments were received on this application, sorry. And council passed a resolution Tuesday, February 8th, stating that they have no concerns with this application. So it would be my recommendation that application 1B0322 for a lot addition be approved with the usual conditions. In this case, there's only 3. We need the original executed transfer deed of land form, a schedule to that transfer deed of land form, and 1 copy and 1 electronic copy of the reference plan of survey.
Is there anyone would like to speak against this resolution? Where'd we go? I just got blown out. Oh, I love this. I just got knocked out.
You're still here, Jim.
Okay, I thought I was knocked out. At least I'm not swearing.
You're still on speaker.
I know.
And we can see you too.
Oh, I can't see. There you are. I don't know what happened there.
Do you
While
need
I
a
was-
mover?
Yeah, not quite. While I was babbling, did anybody speak against? Anybody speak for? Any
No.
comments from the committee? Can we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we pass application 1B0322 with the 3 conditions that Carrie mentioned.
Thank you, Sandy. Do we have a seconder?
I will second it.
Thank you, Peter. And the wishes of the committee?
In favor.
In favor.
Favor.
It's passed. Carrie, do you have to read the conditions or are we good with it?
No, I read them already.
Okay. Now we go to 1B 2321. This is a lot addition. It's also 1B 2421 for a lot addition and a new lot for Hawkwell Construction. Under normal circumstances at this time, we would not be accepting any comments from the public because we've had since August to comment. However, we're diverging from the normal rules of order and we're allowing anybody that has new information 5 minutes each. Does anyone have any desire to speak?
Jim, may I offer the best way that we can track that?
Yes.
So if anyone who wishes to speak can quickly turn their camera on and then we'll record everyone. This is for opposition first, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Okay, so if you turn your camera on, we'll record the names of the folks who wish to speak, and then we will call you out individually so that you know when it's your turn. And Chelsea is also going to hold up a sign when there's 1 minute left, just so everyone has that warning. There it is, yes. Okay, so we'll write down your names and then I will call them out one at a time. Okay. Jim, if you're ready, I can call out the first person. When the people are speaking, if you can once again turn your cameras off, I will call you and then you can turn your camera back on.
Okay, when you're ready, Carrie.
Okay, first speaker will be Yiska Westbrook.
Okay. I want to thank you guys. I realized that this was an unorthodox way of presenting, and I didn't realize that we couldn't do this. I had started to look at the information that was new, just the new traffic brief, the new planning report, and had a look at it. And my head's been in this game for quite a while. So, but thank you very much for allowing us to speak and to take the opportunity here. So these applications are going to the result of them and is going to be increased traffic on Germain. And that's one of the sensitive uses that we had brought up in the past. So I do very much appreciate that Hawkwell did that traffic brief for us to look at. So we look at the fact that we don't want to exasperate any issue that's there. We don't want to increase it. And what I want to note is that, like, for over a decade, industrial traffic has not been allowed on Germain Road. Increased industrial traffic from HCL's property. That's been supported for 10 years. We've said that in the past. It continues to be that way in 2018 and in 2021, when council even stated that they didn't want to have it. Very direct statements. Germain Drive is unacceptable and will be dangerous. Opposing the easement will increase traffic, make it more dangerous, just increase traffic more dangerous. MTO is stating that they'll consent to the easements. They're not consenting to anything to do actually with Germain, but they're saying we'll allow the easements because they don't want traffic going up into more traffic going through HCL's main entrance there. So their mandate is to stop that. So if municipality is okay with providing these easements, then MTO consents. But we have to see that part of the municipality, which is the council, is not approving that. The other thing, actually, Jim, are the applications, I don't know if I can ask this, but in my original, I had a bunch of things that were confusing the applications. And you've seen them. Were they corrected? Do they get corrected? Because on my first letter that I brought in, there was a list, and it was a long list, but a lot of them were related to each other. For example, in 23, it said his retained lot was going to go up 588, but he was applying for an easement. So those things didn't jive. And do you know that that's all been taken care of? That the applications themselves actually are corrected?
I believe they are corrected now, Carrie. Okay, yes, they have been corrected.
Okay. Okay. Because there was quite a few, which made it confusing. I think that's why MTO was confused in the beginning. So this traffic brief is so far the dispute, right? And so I wanted to take a look at it. And when we look at this traffic brief, we have to see when it was performed. It was performed on Tuesday, November 30th. Okay, so that's the quietest day of the week, quietest month of the year. No construction, no traffic, no tourists, not a lot. However, it's still, they did count 1,055 vehicles on Highway 588. The MTO traffic volumes are a bit outdated that they were using as a historical of 2016. So that information, it doesn't indicate really what's going to happen, in the bigger days, bigger months from April to October. The traffic brief didn't include HCL pit traffic, and it's stating that the pit plan is allowing that traffic to head out the other entrance. Now, we've heard that MTO entrance has been closed, and as of Tuesday, we found out that it's not being closed, and that pit traffic can still go out that way. However, whatever's happening there, because we don't really understand it and we don't know, if it is closed, all traffic is going to come out Germain. So that's everything, because that's the only other entrance that's into that area. We've heard upwards of numbers of 500 for dump trucks alone, and that's in and out. If it's not closed, what I'd like to know is what's stopping HCL from taking the rest of that stuff in the retained lots, not just the retained lots, but his operations out there. How will this be prevented or monitored? The brief didn't consider his traffic. So if that traffic does end up coming out Germain, then it wasn't accounted for. There's also, with that traffic, there's staff, serviceable vehicles, float trucks, contractors. The traffic brief didn't consider the traffic coming from that heavy equipment sales business that's up near Pineview Motel. That has a lot of massive floats that come in and out, and that wasn't accounted for in the brief. It didn't account for the Rio Tinto traffic for the driveway that's right at the entrance there. Some of the unknowns, the document actually states it itself. It says that no other activities are planned at this time. Developments are currently unknown. So right now we do know that HCL can lease as many lots and as many areas and sections as he'd like without consultation, as long as it's within the zoning right. So he can have as many different businesses in there. The unknown future development and sale of that retained lot, that can't be considered in that brief. So that's all going to come out Germain. The numbers that came from the other pits were assumptions, and they were assumptions. I mean, they have their numbers. They can definitely give their averages and things. But successful bids, it depends on what you have. So that can increase the traffic there. It also indicates that the brief indicates that there's no safety or operational concerns for the Oliver Papoonge and Neebing pit, and that it has no collision data, from public MTO for that intersection. So they have no data on safety there. And the planning report says the same thing. Now I've had close calls myself. I've had dump trucks come out that intersection and they're trying to get up the hill full, and I've had 2 or 3 come out running the stop sign. Do I call the municipality, the OPP? No, I don't know how many people do that. So I'm just, does the municipality have a reporting and recording system for traffic violations? Because I wasn't aware of them, but things have happened. You can ask anybody.
Yeah.
So all this traffic is potentially coming out Germain. And that's traffic that is considered in this brief, but more importantly, it's what the traffic is that isn't considered in this brief. There's a lot of unknowns. And I just don't think that the brief itself is doing what it's supposed to for that time and for that moment in time. But it definitely doesn't calm the existing land use issue. I don't see how you can approve applications that will definitely exacerbate the condition there. The planning report itself, there was a lot of confusion around the easement. And I think, Carrie, you cleared me. I mean, because 23 had an easement, but you said no longer it has an easement, correct? So
The
So
easement, we need one easement.
yeah,
It's the same for both applications. It's a single easement. It's just listed in the conditions of one single application because it doesn't need to be in both.
okay. It's just that the MTO letter, when the way they write it, it says that 23 does propose to create an easement. Sorry, wrong one. Where am I? They won't support either in the April 6th letter, but in the April 17 letter, they are supportive if 23 has that easement. And that both of the registered easements on title for access to Germain Drive to the retained and severed lots identified in consent application 23 and 24. So I didn't know if that mattered, if that confused things. I just wanted to make sure that that all made sense and that if 24 doesn't go through, then 23 doesn't go through, correct? Right. Okay, so these applications are inextricably linked to create a new lot, which is proposed to use as a disposal industrial site. So if you're going to improve, if you are approving them, I just want you to please understand them, make sure the information, the application themselves is complete and clear and foolproof, that they both have to be conditional on the future rezoning process. And I also would like to see a condition that there's no permission to build or clear or begin an entrance prior to the applicant being approved for rezoning. I don't know if that's possible, but that's one of the conditions I think that should be in there, that they can't just put in an entrance because that happened in 2018. That an entrance was put in before the thing had completed. So the traffic brief focuses on industrial interests for sure, and that's what it was supposed to do with public traffic in there. But like I said, it represented a single moment in time. It is not indicative of what will or may travel in and out of Germain. I don't think it can be considered as on its own as a measure of safety for the users who are on that road. There are people who do walk their kids to a school bus at the corner. There are the two residences themselves, plus the amount of traffic that will go through that intersection, plus the traffic coming up and down Highway 588 between the more serious months, to me, makes me think that if, these really should either be deferred to look further into a more intense traffic study in a time when that's the most dangerous times, or deferred, or denied just because of the not being desirable for the appropriate development or use of the land in the roads or roads in this particular sensitive area.
Thank you. Yes. That concludes my presentation. Isn't that just going to say?
That's my mother saying, finishing it off for me.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I'm making the assumption you were done.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I am. Did you have any questions?
Not myself. Anybody from the committee? Okay, thank you, Yiska.
Thank you.
Carrie, do we have anyone else?
Next speaker is Brian Marion. You have 5 minutes.
Yes, I was going to, I think Yiska covered most of the points that I had concern about, and I was going to yield my time back to her if she didn't have to do that. So I don't have anything further to add. If Yiska has any more, she more than welcome to use my 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much, Brian.
Okay, next speaker is Oscar Mattis. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, I turned video on and I turned mute off.
Yeah, you're good.
So, okay, here we go. First of all, thanks for the opportunity to express my concerns on this very important issue. I live in Stanley 588. Like many residents traveling past this intersection where they're going to the post office in Quebec or Canadian Tire in Thunder Bay. To be clear, I am against these applications. The traffic report prepared by TBT Engineering for Mr. Hockwell is very extensive. There are discrepancies and errors in the report and opinions based on assumptions rather than facts. The report includes statements based on consultations by Mr. Hockwell, Municipality of Walbrook-Papoonge, and Nebing, A1 Sewage, and perhaps others. I'm going to make a comment here. I trust that TBT Engineering has recorded minutes of these consultations, dates, details, those present, and would be available if required. How often do we hear? I didn't say that. I don't remember that. There are several books or manuals used in the preparation of traffic reports. Institute of Transportation Engineers, Transport Association of Canada, TAC, Geometric Design Guides. Like all engine reports, they use reference materials as a guide. I'm not questioning the correctness of the data in regards to the manuals they follow. I just feel strongly when the safety is an issue, the intersection being on a curve and a hill is not a textbook intersection. Words like the report says doubtful, theoretical, assume, estimation do not go along with safety. My input is based on my understanding of the information in the traffic brief. For safety of all those using 588, I ask that you do the right thing and deny these applications. Now, I went through that engineering report and making some references to what I felt were incorrect or other. Under existing, and I have some questions as well. Under the existing conditions, page 3, and I'll just briefly exert, it says provides access to, and then it goes on and says a commercial entrance. Consultation with Hockwell Construction was identified as not currently in use. Not currently in use, and it's a commercial entrance. So a commercial entrance not currently used, can one read into this that in future this entrance would be used? And this will add to the traffic on Germain Drive 588 intersection. I have a question, commercial entrance, does that allow in the future for industrial tandem trucks, for example? Second point, page 4 and 10, and 10, sight lines. Comment there in the report, a vertical and horizontal geometric provides for, and it goes on with distances for south and northbound traffic. Now, although these SS distances, SSD stop sight distances per the report are within the Transportation Association criteria, probable cause for accidents are excessive speed, winter road conditions, inexperienced and careless drivers. And we all remember the incident in Saskatchewan where the bus containing the hockey players got wiped out. And due to the slope of the land, mechanical failures. You've got a tandem truck coming down, have to make a sudden stop, could be brake failures. Like I said before, this is not a textbook location. Page 6, section there in regards to through consultation with Municipality of Walbrook-Papoonge, Nebing, in regards to their hauling operations out of their respective pits. This is done over a 6-week operation for Oliver Papoons, again from the report, and an additional 2-week period for Nebeen. And it says they do not overlap. So now we're looking at 8 weeks of truck operation by the municipalities, again, during the summer months. Per the report, again, 40 trucks per day equates to 80 turning movements. I like that turning movements clause. This is Oliver Papoons for 6.5 hours. I think the report said from 8 to 3. So say they take a half an hour for lunch. Pardon me, it was 7 hours. Take a half an hour for lunch. So we're looking at about 6.5 hours. If you do and then it goes on, and this report says, there was no safety or operational concerns were identified. Now, if you were doing the math, hang on here, Chris. Oh, yeah. Should the proposed development proceed, there would be an additional 50 turning movements within 3 years. And that's that turning movement theoretically 3 to 3.5 minutes during the 6-week period Oliver Papoons would be hauling from their pit. And then once you get into summer traffic, that pardon me, that for the 6 weeks it would be 4 to 5 minutes. Once you get into summer traffic, and it would be reduced. Highway 588, and this kind of, like Ishka had said, traffic count on November the 30th is nowhere near. 588 also sees a significant increase in traffic volume during the summer months. People traveling in and from summer camps, 588, traffic generated by U.S. residents heading to resorts west by Stanley and 588. If a traffic count were to be done during the busy summer months, I'm sure the results would not compare to the November 30th. Also remember that with COVID, people have not been traveling as much. This would have resulted in less traffic count on November the 30th. Item number 4, pages 3 and 7, existing conditions. There's lots of data. There's lots of data in this section pertaining to traffic patterns, theoretical capacity, assumptions, LOS, level of service, traffic forecast, development analysis, volume to capacity ratio, and it goes on. We, the residents using 588 on a regular basis, trust that the members of the committee adjustment do their due diligence and understand this data before making their decision on the application. Worth noting, page 7, that the analysis was based on November 30th, observing turning movement count, and did not factor municipal hauling operations. Point number 5, page 8, the business will be open 7 days a week, but is expected to have a minimal staff on weekends. There's no information in the report, the hours of operation. Now, this is not a traffic related, but I just wanted to put it in. There's the noise, there could be noise from a traffic issue, but also worth noting that from the pit operations, there could be noise. Who would have jurisdiction over this operation? Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Oliver Papoons, I'm sorry, rather. Item number 6, page 12, improvement warrants. For the and this is out of the report, for the of decelerating traffic compared to through traffic will not cause undue hazard.
Excuse me, Oscar, Jim speaking.
Yes.
You're running 8 minutes right now. So 1 more minute and that's it.
Okay, thank you. Several assumptions were made on that last assumed volume of decelerating vehicles. Assumed will not cause undue hazard, and is doubtful was another word used in that section. As traffic generated by the development will not increase the volume of northbound left turn lane movements. Contradicts this All movement from Germain Drive to 588 will be left turns. No comment were brought forward by the municipality of OP regarding left movements. I asked the question, does this mean OP, Oliver Papoons were not asked for input or they did not? Analysis did not any quarry pit generation from traffic from Hawkwood's construction property, as the pit plan indicates that the site primary access point is 588, immediately south of Highway 588 of 1117. And then it goes on to say this consultation is, it was also identified as this is currently not in use. So that's right after the other. They say it's used, the entrance at 588, and then it says it's not used. Some of the errors. Anyway, I think, and if there is any misunderstandings on my part, I apologize, but that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Oscar. Carrie, anybody else?
Yes, we have Keith Wade. You have 5 minutes.
And we don't have a specific comment on the current application, but do wish to be on the record that we will be submitting on any subsequent application for the rezoning. Our major concern is groundwater nutrient loading potential. And we would have commentary on any mitigations proposed by a subsequent lot occupier who presumably is going to be A1. We would have to, see what that was, and we would certainly refer to the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks criteria, and we would be looking for particularly monitoring as per other similar industries in the area with very, very similar soil issues. We note the difference here is the slope, the adjacency of spring waters, and the Cam River watershed in general. So that's it for us. We don't want to take anybody else's time. I'm done.
Thank you, Keith. Anyone else?
We had one final speaker, Shannon Dodd-Smith.
Okay.
Hi there, thank you. I just want to let you know that I checked with some other committees, and what you're doing tonight is great. And it's actually very normal practice to, when there's new information, it's absolutely normal and actually needs to be open to the public. So great for doing that. Thank you. I'm Shannon Dodd-Smith, and actually I've been retained by Yiska Westbrook and concerned citizens to write a report, to review the planning report and to review the applications. I'm a professional planner, have been in practice for about 24 years now, have a Master of Science, and I'm a registered professional planner here in Northwestern Ontario. So anyway, I wanted to let you know that before I agreed to take this on, I let Yiska know that I cannot be an advocate. That is not my role. I didn't have, I wasn't sure if I'd be able to support all of their concerns. It really, my job is to be an advocate for good planning, for the principles of good planning, and that would be the Planning Act and the provincial policy statement within that Planning Act, and of course the policies within your very own official plan. So I provided a report to Yiska, and I don't know if the committee received it. Can you let me know if the committee received it? Okay. It seems like some did, some didn't. So I'm going to just briefly go over what's in the report. Of course, what's in there is in detail, and I would encourage you to take a look at it, because not only will it help inform you in this decision-making tonight, if it's deferred, that'll help, but give you time to read it, but it'll also help you for the review of future applications. So by law, the Committee of Adjustment cannot make a decision that causes land use conflict or exacerbates existing land use conflict. So the provincial policy statement and official plan is largely about that. And it's also about consultation. So every decision that you make, every decision that the municipality makes, and because you're a delegated approval authority, you must make those decisions consistently with the PPS, and they must conform to the official plan. So while the new planning report does start to address this, so it was definitely an improvement, and good job starting to look at the PPS and official plan. I want to note that the criteria, the decision criteria that you should be looking at for every single application that comes before you, some of the key ones are missing. So I'm going to pull up my report and just read them to you quickly. So the report, if you do have a copy of the report, they're on page 9. So the report covers off section 5.19.2 of the official plan, and that's the criteria for evaluation. So that's great. There, you can look there every time you get an application. So in this case, E, F, G, and J don't appear to be in the report. So when somebody is applying for a land use, it is incumbent upon the applicant to demonstrate that there is there won't be any land use conflict, or that it's compatible development. And there are different ways to do that. And it's all laid out in the official plan. In this case, there has to be no traffic hazard created. There has to be safe access, egress to the retained and severed lots, and that has to be feasible. The consent cannot result in land use conflicts with existing nearby uses. The lot size and configuration shall be suitable for the proposed use, and where possible, be consistent with adjacent development. And the consent does not result in landlocked parcels being created. So I think some of those have been addressed. They weren't in the report. Some of them have been addressed though by the applicant. But I would note that I think the most important one, and the reason why you're hearing from people tonight, is that the consent cannot result in land use conflicts with existing nearby uses. So that means you can't approve it unless the applicant demonstrates that there won't be any conflict. Okay, and it's your responsibility as the committee to uphold that. So you have to say, okay, show us how this is being done. So certainly it is the responsibility of the applicant to show how the provincial policy statement, and this is straight out of the law. This is straight out of the Planning Act. The applicant has to show how the provincial policy statement is being met, and how the policies and the criteria of the official plan are being met. And they've started that. The applicant started that with the traffic brief. It should have been much more than a traffic brief, in my opinion, but it's a good start. You've been delegated by the municipality or by council to use these criteria and the tools in the official plan to ensure that the applicant develops in a compatible way. So right now, as it stands, due to the lack of information, in my opinion, as a professional planner and experienced planner, there's not enough information to be able to make an informed decision because of the complexity of the application. So as I said, everything that I'm saying to you right now is in the report. You can see the parts of your official plan that require these types of studies that demonstrate compatibility. So the application, I note, the applications have zoning as a condition, which is allowed for in the official plan, and it's fine. It has the effect of deferring the studies. Some, like the gentleman before me mentioned, groundwater studies, vibration studies for the heavy trucks, because right now there will now be 3 lots using a single entrance coming out in a residential neighborhood, which is unheard of. This just doesn't happen these days in land use planning, because there is a planning framework in place to prevent the abutting of heavy industrial, any kind of industrial, with sensitive uses, which includes residential. And I'll show you when we talked about the D series guidelines, or actually the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks, MECP, was mentioned already by the gentleman before me. And they have guidelines to exactly do this, to achieve the buffering and the setbacks and the separation of uses. And that is provided for in the PPS, provincial policy statement, and the official plan as well.
Shannon,
So,
it's Jim Castan interrupting you. 1 minute.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to take you to, so right now I think there's insufficient information because you are, if you make a decision to approve this, these consents, you will be creating a more intensified industrial use closer to a sensitive use, and it's actually not legal. So unless there's demonstration of mitigation of any impacts, including vibration, pollution, and that sort of thing, emissions. So I'm going to take you to, in the last 30 seconds, I'm going to take you to the D-Series guidelines, which talks about classes of industry. So classes of industry. So compatibility with sensitive uses. Class 2 or 3 would describe what's happening on the land right now in the zoning, what's permitted in the zoning. And the compatibility rating, this is MEC guidelines, you have to follow these unless you show that, unless you demonstrate through studies that you don't need to follow these. So class 2 is very poor. It's a very poor compatibility with sensitive uses. Occasional noise, frequent dust, odor, often intense. Class 3, incompatible. Frequent noise, ground-borne vibration, intense and persistent dust and odor. And that would be consistent with what is permitted in the zoning right now. So I'm going to leave it at that. That's my phone interrupting. I'm sure my time is up. And I want to thank you for your attention. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Shannon. Carrie, do we have any last minute additions?
Yes, I'm sorry I don't have the Skype or Facebook or Zoom or whatever you talk about. It's Rod and S calling, 11 Germain Drive. I agree with what Mr. Mattis and Yiska has had to say. I'm totally against any more traffic on our road. I have an example of what happened to me on the 10th of December. I had a day off on a Friday. I took my grandkids to the bus for the first time, and a Superior propane truck was coming down that hill, and it was snowed. And when the bus put his lights on, the stop sign wasn't out, but the lights were flashing, and the propane truck, he kind of panicked, and he locked up his brakes, and he drifted a little sideways, and then he rolled past the bus. And that's the one time I took my grandkids to the bus. So, and when I have a Class A license, I'm a equipment operator, and when I turn off the 588 onto Germain Road, I usually find it awkward because the traffic, it's a tight corner, and that's in a half ton, and it's a tight corner, and the traffic is, you obstruct the traffic in a pickup truck, and I have the ability to drive a pickup truck, and that's my concern here. I don't know how many ways you have to explain it. I haven't made a letter or a list, but my wife has, and so that's my concern. And if anything ever happened there, it wouldn't be good for our state of mind, you know. Like we need to. There has to be a lot of money spent on that intersection in this road before you can allow any more traffic that's already there, in my opinion, and obviously it's other people's. That's all I have to say, I suppose. And my wife is against it as well, Maggie. And thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
The only other person who has their camera on is Penny Smith. I'm not sure if she has intentions to speak or not. If not, if you could just turn your camera off, please.
That's it.
Okay, Jim, I don't see anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition.
Okay, does anybody want to speak in favor? Okay. Carrie, I understand you have a recommendation, a report that you want to read at this time. You want to present at this time?
Certainly, so that concludes the public consultation period.
Yes.
Okay, so as everyone on the call is aware, 2 applications have been received from James Hockwell for the property known as being on Highway 588. The intent of the proposed lot addition is to transfer 4 hectares of land to the abutting property, also owned by Hockwell Construction. The lot addition just serves to increase frontage available on Germain Drive so that the access that is already on Germain Drive can be used. Once the lot addition is complete, the retained parcel will be 12.64 hectares. The second application proposes to create a new lot with the frontage along Germain Drive with an area of 8.5 hectares, leaving a retained lot of 15.81 hectares. The proposal includes easement access from Germain Drive over the proposed new lot to access the retained portion. The applicant is proposing the lot addition and new lot to create a sellable lot, which is proposed to be used in the future as a disposal industrial site. That the retained property will continue to operate as an aggregate pit, and the new lot and retained lot would be of legal size for the zone, and no other development is proposed at this time. Just to summarize the official plan, section 5.19.2 summarizes when consents may be granted, including where soil and drainage conditions are adequate for the proposed use, permitting the proper siting of buildings, and if required, the installation of private septic disposal systems, etc. The area is characterized by primarily open areas of undeveloped land within a rural setting, where the makeup of development consists of agricultural uses, cross-road settlements, limited residential uses, pits, quarries, and a variety of other types of rural uses. The zoning bylaw currently zones the property as heavy industrial. Once the new lot is created, again, a zoning amendment would be required to amend the zoning to disposal industrial, which would be a condition of the consent. The provincial policy statement supports growth, economic development, and the best use of the land. It promotes efficient development and land use patterns, which sustain the financial well-being of the province and municipalities over the long term, as well as accommodating an appropriate, affordable, and market-based range and mix of residential types, including single detached, additional residential units, etc. Employment, including industrial and commercial, institutional, including places of worship, cemeteries, and long-term care homes, recreation, park and open space, and other uses to meet long-term needs. Avoiding development and land use patterns which may create or cause environmental or public health and safety concerns. These applications are in conformity with the provincial policy statement. The zoning, the subject property will be required to be rezoned to disposal industrial for the new lot's intended use. The subject property is currently accessed from Highway 588. MTO has made it clear that a new entrance permit or any change in use of the property will not be permitted from the entrance at 588, directing them to use the access on Germain Drive, hence the proposed easement in the application. A traffic brief was conducted by TBT Engineering after a number of comments at a previous public meeting pointing to concerns about road safety and increased traffic in the area. The analysis indicates the additional traffic generated by the development of this site only has a minor impact on overall intersection operations. We did receive a number of agency comments, none of which pointed to any concerns at this time. Again, noting that these applications are specifically for a lot addition and a new lot. We are not looking at rezoning the property at this time. That is a completely separate application and a completely separate process that will go before the council of the municipality. Again, we received a number of comments from the public. And we have summarized those points in a previous meeting and in this report. And it is our recommendation that we approve these applications for a lot addition and a new lot. We have no concerns from the Conservation Authority. An environmental study is not required. As mentioned, a traffic brief was conducted as increased traffic concerns in the area is a valid concern. The brief indicates that there's no major concerns with the proposed increase and supports the applications. We rely on professional comments from agencies to make these decisions, and that is what we are using to make this recommendation. So again, it is my recommendation that the lot addition be approved with the normal conditions, as well as the new lot being approved with the normal conditions, also including that the lot addition be completed initially and that a zoning amendment be completed after the fact. That's my summary.
Okay, thank you. I understand our consultant, Jeff Port, who is as I said before, planning consultant, JCP Planning and Development, has some comments or would like to speak.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, my name is Jeff Port. I run a private consulting firm and have over 35 years experience as a registered professional planner and provide consulting professional planning services for Oliver Popunj. I guess I'd like to take just a couple of minutes of the committee's time to bring this back to what it's really all about. Mr. Hawkwell has made an application to the Township of Oliver Popunj for a lot addition to make a parcel of land slightly bigger so he can then divide it into another lot. And then the retained lot would be have access via an easement. So all of this is before the committee for review and approval. That's what this is about. The lot created will be an industrial lot in an industrial zone with an industrial official plan designation. So as an application for consent and lot addition and easement, the application is completely compliant with the official plan and the zoning bylaw. I want to go back to the previous statutory public meeting that was held. At that particular meeting, there were quite a number of comments from the public, which staff and committee members took very seriously. And in fact, a decision on this was deferred because some of the legitimate concerns that were heard from the public had to do around traffic issues at the intersection to Germain Road. And in fact, the applicant was instructed to hire a qualified professional, a civil engineer, a professional engineer, to prepare a traffic study that was done to the specifications for the Ministry of Transportation for provincial highways. So it wasn't just any old study that was written on a napkin. And I will say that I've seen hundreds of traffic studies over my career. And I would say that this traffic impact study was completed in a professional manner by a professional engineer. And in fact, it covered all of the aspects and issues that are required by the province of Ontario and the Ministry of Transportation in the preparation of a traffic impact study. And as indicated in the planning report, it was prepared by TBT Engineering. After reviewing the intersection and all the appropriate analysis was done and complete, they indicated that there would be a minor impact to the intersection and no intersection improvements were required. So the other thing we've heard, though, is criticism of the traffic study. And I'd like to speak just a moment about that for the committee and for the public, for that matter. The public is welcome to review these documents and make comments on them. However, while the comments are welcome and I think very well-meaning and very sincere, they are anecdotes. They are not backed up by scientific evidence, and they are not comments from another professional who prepares traffic studies, who would be qualified to review this document. That's called a peer review. And often if someone disagrees with a traffic study, what they do is they hire another engineer to review that study to see if those assumptions and calculations were correct or not. And in fact, there's a very rigorous, narrow format for a peer review to be conducted. And then what happens is that report gets submitted along with the original one, and one can determine whether they have confidence in the original traffic study that was completed. That has not been done. These are comments, as well-meaning as they are and sincere as they are biased comments that are looking to, what do I want to call it, pick away at the fringes of the traffic study and cast doubt in people's mind. Having said that, I have found the traffic study to be, while it may have a little problem here or a little problem there, if you add it all up, it would in no way affect the recommendation and the final outcome of the traffic study, because the potential increase in the intersection was so minimal and so low, even if you missed a few trucks or missed a few cars here and there, it would not change the outcome nor the recommendation coming from the traffic study. So that's my comment on the traffic study. My next and final comment would be on the report submitted, the planning review report that was submitted by Ms. Shannon Dodd Smith. Ms. Shannon Dodd Smith covered a number of topics in the planning report. However, none of them spoke to or provided any evidence whatsoever as to why this application for consent, lot addition, or easement should not be granted, because this application is in full compliance with the official plan, the PPS, and the zoning bylaw. The planning review tended to veer off into, as was stated earlier by her, it tended to veer off into an argument of incompatibility of adjacent land uses, which is more useful in a planning report for a zoning bylaw amendment application, which, as Kerry Reed pointed out, would occur later anyway. So I think the planning report is misplaced in that it quotes the incorrect sections of the official plan and PPS, because in quoting those sections, it's geared towards a zoning bylaw amendment for a waste disposal site and a sensitive use in the area, as opposed to an application for a consent, a lot addition, and an easement, which is where it should have been focused. So, you know, I think it's a planning report that deserves a more fulsome discussion on another day when that issue, and if that issue comes forward. But in terms of a planning report addressing the issues related to this application before the committee today, it really doesn't hit the mark, because it doesn't really get into the official plan. It doesn't make one mention of official plan policies on land division in the official plan. Well, that's what this is about. They're the official plan policies that should be quoted in a planning report, not one that is more appropriate for a rezoning. So I think it's a little ahead of itself. And if the we've already heard that a condition to rezone to waste disposal, if that's what the applicant wants to do with this industrial lot when he's done, that would be a requirement for a future day. But I think the land use planning arguments presented in that report are inappropriate for this application. They would be appropriate for a rezoning application, not an application for a consent to sever under section 53. Final comment from me. Comment was made in the video presentation that it's not legal. This application is perfectly legal. It conforms to the official plan. It meets the zoning requirements. It's a simple consent application to create an industrial lot in an industrial area, in an industrial zone, with an industrial official plan designation. That's why I think at the end of the day, the planning report recommends approval, with the condition, if they want to have a waste disposal site there, that would require a future application to the Township of Oliver Papoonge that would go to council. Then those planning issues would be weighed on their merits or not. And those issues will be dealt with at the appropriate time in the future. but that is not, they are not the issues before this committee here tonight. This is an application just for a lot addition, new lot, easement for an industrial lot, industrial zone, industrial official plan designation. And they're my remarks, and I'll stay on if the committee has any questions for Carrie or myself.
Thank you. Great.
I have a question.
Who are you? Go ahead, Sandy.
Is for Jeff. Thanks, Jeff. I think what I'm looking at is I need clarification that the implied usage in the application is not part of this committee's decision-making process.
Maybe Carrie can jump in here wherever. The permitted uses for the new lot to be created will be whatever the permitted uses are that are listed in the Oliver Papunj zoning bylaw for heavy industrial. They are the only permitted uses that can occur on that property after the lot is created. A waste disposal site is not one of those uses, but all of the other permitted uses listed in for heavy industrial listed in the Oliver Papunj zoning bylaw are permitted uses and could occur once the lot is created. They are the same permitted uses that are permitted in the surrounding property as well, because the surrounding property is also zoned heavy industrial.
Okay, thank you for that. So I was asking for clarification that the implied usage that is written in the application is not a part of this committee's decision-making process.
That's correct, because what the committee can do and what is within the purview of this committee's decision-making process is to require that if the applicant does want to use this land as a waste disposal site, as they've indicated in the past, that the property needs to be rezoned to a zoning designation that permits that use. Heavy industrial does not, waste disposal does. So and we're recommending we put this condition in because we've heard concerns about it. And in fact, it's perfectly legitimate and appropriate for if the applicant wants to, in the future, develop a waste disposal site there, they need an amendment to the zoning bylaw because it's not a permitted use in the heavy industrial zone. So that protects the applicant and the township and the public if that condition is put in there, a condition of approval is put in there. In the future, one final point, if for whatever reason Mr. Hawkwell chooses not to proceed with the development of a waste disposal site, he could indicate that in the future, to the township. And if he's not proceeding with it, then that condition can be removed because it wouldn't be required anymore. But that would also have to come back to the committee for approval, because Carrie and Jeff just can't take a condition out. Only this committee can approve conditions, include conditions with an approval, and only this committee can remove a condition in the future.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a question for Carrie. Carrie, on the comments from all the committees and mining and everything else, did council come back with comments? Like, I think they did way back, but I can't remember.
Council had provided resolutions that were read out to the committee back in August of 2021. They are in support of the new lot, but they are not in support of the easement.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm not going to ask if anybody would like to speak for or against. We've already done that. I would now ask for the recommendation of the committee.
Well, this is Quinty here. And I'm not in favor of it, and obvious reasons, I'm living here. And it goes back to application in April of 2018, when there was going to be a residential lot with a residential entrance. And all of the people that you've heard from today were off their chairs happy, because that's what was going to happen with it. And in the official plan, it goes to the best use of land from the from the PPS. And this is not, the intended use is not the best use for that land, as far as I'm concerned. And it's, it speaks to everything that everybody else has talked about. Their concerns about property values there. And it's such a short stretch of road, and it really deserves to have another residence on that side where the residential entrance is. So I'm not in favor of it. And we've had these, this issue has been going on for such a long time, and I don't know what's ever going to be the resolve from it, because, we have so many people that speak for it and so many people that speak against it. And, this ball goes back and forth across the net and never seems to get resolved. So, if I were able to make this happen, I think what should happen is that there should be an in-house meeting with the planner, Mr. Hockwell, somebody from yourself, Jim, from the Committee of Adjustments, somebody from Council, and somebody from MTO. And they all sit down at the same table for an afternoon and sort the thing out.
Okay, thank you, Don. The one comment that I would make is some of your comments may be closer related to zoning amendment rather than committee of adjustment.
I know that. I know where it's going, and I can't be in favor. I'm sure you have enough people there to pass it without me. But that's my thoughts on it.
Okay, well, for the rest of the committee, please ensure that we're not voting based on zoning bylaw versus planning, Committee of Adjustment planning process. Would anybody else like to comment?
I will.
Peter?
No matter what I read, no matter what I hear, anyways, the problem will stay. If the lot is moved to a new lot or not, the problem will be still there. So, we won't get any ahead with this. The problem still will come back again, even when you revert. So I'm opposed to this.
Based on what planning
Based
issue?
Based on what, even when you would have another industry, then a disposal, whatever it comes, the issue will be still there with the traffic. And what is the biggest obstacle to me, what is there?
Okay, that the traffic study suggests that there is not a safety concern.
I hear that.
Whether that's accurate, I'm not a traffic engineer. I cannot refute that. That requires a civil engineer.
Okay, in the reports what you read too, and then the second one that I got, it says, nobody knows the accuracy. So if nobody knows, how can you prove some things?
It's what we have. If it is inaccurate, prove it.
Yeah, and I think I agree, Jim, that what we have in front of us is an application to have an easement, a lot addition, and a severance. And that's all we're here to decide. We're not here to worry about if he's going to put a waste disposal. The traffic study is from a very good company, and we have to believe that. Hearing Jeff speak to it, I feel better because I feel like I'm going to be the bad guy in the neighborhood by passing this lot severance. And it's the concern is not the severance, it's the future use or intended use or word of mouth use. So I think that, well, we have two people against, and I would vote in favor of the severance as it's been applied for. 1B 23 and 21, 1B 24 and 21. I make a motion to accept the application and allow the severance and lot addition. I don't know how to word that, Carrie.
We can work on the wording later.
Okay.
And I'll second Susan.
There are resolutions in place already also that just say that we recommend approval for the applications with the conditions.
Yeah, definitely with the conditions, yes. I know you read that.
Sandy, did I hear your voice?
Yeah, I second Susan.
Okay, we now have a tie 2-2. It's up to the chair, so I'm the official bad guy one way or the other, and this motion has passed. It will be eventually, I don't know when, put to the council as a zoning bylaw. That is when Shannon, help me, Shannon Dodge Smith, I was going to reverse your name there, sorry. Her comments will come in. Additional questions regarding watersheds, site visits by agencies, previous access points off 588 that were suggested can all be brought forward to your council. This is where I duck and cover and say the committee is not involved in the zoning changes. Yes, Carrie.
Just to follow up, just so that I believe the applicant is on the line. Since the two applications have been approved, Mr. Hockwell, notice of decision will be put in the mail with all of the conditions laid out for you as were presented this evening. You should see that next week.
Okay.
If I may, just a quick comment between Carrie and I. When the notices of decision go out, they also go to any individuals who attended tonight's meeting and the previous statutory meeting and left their name and contact information with the Township of Oliver Papunj. So because they took the time to speak to the issue, they also will be sent a notice of decision, which results in the outcome of this committee's deliberation on the file. So it goes to the applicant and anyone who took the time to attend the statutory public meeting, and I would argue who took the time to attend tonight's committee meeting as well.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank everybody that spoke concerning this issue, with your concerns for and against. And I'd like to thank you for putting in the amount of time that I'm sure you have. We're now going to go on with the meeting. The minutes from the last meeting, which was December 9, 21. I'm sure the committee has read them faithfully. Are there any additions, omissions, or corrections?
No.
Can I have a mover and a seconder?
I'll move.
I'll move.
I
But Peter
heard Don
moved.
moving.
That's okay. That's okay.
Okay, I'm confused. I heard Don move. Did Peter second?
I can
Okay,
second it too. That's better. Fine.
and the feelings of the committee, the wishes of the committee. It is passed. They are passed. Unfinished business. We've
Yes,
got-
so I will send one final follow-up email to AMK, although I do believe that they will be withdrawing their application at this point.
Okay, thank you. Is there any new business?
I do not have any new business tonight.
The part of the meeting. Does anybody have any new business? I should have asked. Can I hear a motion for the adjournment of the meeting?
I'll make a to adjourn.
Thank you, Don.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Sandy. The wishes of the committee.
Goodbye.
Okay,
Who's all left on the air?
are we still on YouTube, Carrie?
We are. Did you adjourn the meeting?
This meeting is adjourned at wherever the time is.
6:30.
Okay, at 6:30.